Is it on now? You guys hear me? Okay, cool. So we'll get started. Before we did, is there anybody that wants to take credit for the weather today? That's pretty. Oh, there we go. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So I am informed that we do not have a youngin tonight. So you're going to have to just tolerate me then. So I'll call this meeting to order. And we will do our declaration of quorum, so we'll call the roll, please.
Matthews.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Flood.
Here.
Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seahorn.
Here.
Salter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All righty, so we will go to the invocation, and Pastor Travis Flood is going to take care of us.
Father God, thank you for today. Thank you for the break in the weather, God. We appreciate the rain and the cool. God, as we move into today's agendas, God, we just pray that everything that we're doing is intentional. Everything that we're doing has been thought through, and God is working towards a better Shawnee. God, thank you for the men and women in this room, God, and for their hearts. And God, I pray that everybody here, God, just be working to make not only a better world for themselves, but a better world for their neighbor. God, we love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Righty. So item one, as always, is citizen participation. Same rules as always, 30 minutes, 12 minutes on a topic. Probably not going to get any questions out of us. You may get comments at the end. And we begin tonight with Richard Finley. So Mayor Finley, if you come down and see us, it's good seeing you.
Thank you. I'm Richard Finley. I'm a Shawnee native and a former mayor, and I know how hard your job is. I've sat there. I have some things to tell you that you probably don't want to hear, and I don't want to have to say. I'm here principally to discuss my friend and Commissioner Bob Weaver. I've known Bob for 40 years and have found him to be a kind, thoughtful man, generally inclined to seek out advice of those whose background and experience can add value to his decisions. Commissioner Weaver, on the other hand, is a guy I do not recognize. It appears to me that he has allowed himself to become allied with a couple of small groups that have zero interest in community good, but serve only their selfish interests. How they've gained his ear, I can only speculate, but I've observed their destructive effects and its impact on this council. For as long as I can remember, Shawnee City Council has had a statewide reputation as warring and dysfunctional. Its negative impact on the function of government go without saying. Recent past has seen some more synergy and a recognition on a regional basis that good things were happening here. Commissioner Weaver's behavior and personal attacks on Rebecca Blaine have set that perception back years. They've caused casual observers to conclude that it's the same old Shawnee. The failure to follow proper chain of command and to directly and very publicly criticize personnel in an open meeting impacts our reputation and hampers our ability to recruit and retain quality staff. The commission has only 4 employees: the manager, the treasurer, the judge, and the attorney. All others work for the manager and only the manager. Your actions have undermined not only the commissioners that abide by protocol, but also the city manager and department heads, and serve only to make their jobs more difficult. The aforementioned actions have shown such poor judgment that I can conclude only that his presence here is a distraction and that his term is likely unsalvageable. I'm not competent to judge Ms. Blaine's professional performance. I hear both good and bad. That's not my job here, and neither is yours. Your job is to pass your observations and the feedback that you receive to the manager for his decision-making process. I do know that she is a professional and deserves the courtesy of not being publicly humiliated. Each of you is elected by all the citizens of Shawnee, and it is them that you are beholding to, not a small but vocal group that has a myopic view of the city's goals. You have significant issues to address. These diversions serve only to suck the air out of the room and make your job harder. Our lakes and their development are the most valuable financial asset owned by the city and deserve your utmost effort so as to benefit all the residents, not just the 150 who live there. The city must be adequately compensated for the private use of its property and must pursue the economic development potential that exists there. The city derives virtually all of its disposable income from sales and use tax. Housetops are growing to the north, and the city's ability to survive, grow, and serve its residents is inexorably tied to a coherent and aggressive annexation plan. Many things go into this plan and command and deserve your nearly undivided attention. Believe me, I know about the internal structures to set good policy and abide by it. As I said, I don't want to be here. My term is up. My being here has likely destroyed a long-standing personal friendship, and I've stepped on a number of toes. I ask only that you receive these words in the spirit in which they are offered. That said, this very public fight and the affected people deserve spirited and public defense. I cannot quietly let the good work that has been done be destroyed. Thank you.
All righty, next up is Dawn Ramsey. So Dawn, come forward, please. There she is. There we go.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm not sure I want to say too much right now. I'm here because of the handicap kayak talk. I am a handicap kayaker. I'm also a motorcycle rider. You can ask the gentleman right there. He sold me my motorcycle. I am afraid of that ramp. That ramp is, to me and to some of my friends that have come down from Tulsa to look at it, they're handicapped, one's in wheelchair, one's in braces. It's a dangerous place. There's not enough parking for us. You're advertising it as a handicapped area to be able to launch a handicapped person into the water. There's not enough parking for handicapped vans, whether they load from the back or whether they load from the side. Mine loads from the side. We're unloading on gravel. I don't think you're planning on concreting or paving that whole area there. It makes it hard. Plus, it's right there by the canal that runs from Lake 1 to Lake 2. And the last time I was on that lake, I was out in the middle with 4 other kayakers, and we got buzzed by somebody on a ski, whatever you call them, skidoo. Yeah. And almost knocked one of us out of, one of the able-bodied ones, off of their kayak. I have a flat-bottom kayak. Because of my legs, I can't get in a kayak, so I'm on top of my kayak. It would have been very easy for me to go over too. And for me, that would have been a long swim back to where I could get my feet on the ground and get back in my kayak. So, and the safety factor, I always, my husband or someone always goes with me that's able-bodied, but it's not, I've never seen that particular type of launch. The Oklahoma City River has a kayak launch, and it is a flat pad where your partner pushes you off and pulls you back on. There's nothing that you have to lift or pull, or you just get into your kayak and you're gone. You're in the water. Plus, they have a safety boat out there for the handicapped people. If you're going to advertise that it's accessible for handicapped people, please put some kind of safety devices out there. Have somebody out there, either in a small boat that can help pull you out of the water, or call for rescue to come and get you. Because sometimes some of these people that are handicapped weigh 200, 300, 400 pounds, and they want a kayak, and they do, but they do it at a really big risk, and I'd hate to see the city get involved in something that they shouldn't be involved in. My 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All righty, next up is Rob Morris. Mr. Morris, if you would, come forward. Yes, sir.
Okay, just jump right in. It's been said, I guess, that I'm against kayaks, and that other people are against kayaks. I'm not against kayaks, kayaking, or the kayak dock. Make that very clear right now on the record so that I can't hide from it later. I don't think anybody else is either. People at the lake town hall the other night, the only issue they had was just, as the person who spoke before me said, the location of it's unsafe. Everybody else is for it other than that. Now let's get into the peddler definition. Chapter 8, Article 3, Division 1, Section 8, 191. Peddler includes the term hawker and huckster and means any person who travels by foot or by any conveyance from place to place or from street to street, carrying, conveying, or transporting goods, wares or merchandise or whatever nature, offering and exposing goods, wares, or merchandise for sale, who, without traveling from place to place, shall sell or offer the goods, wares, or merchandise for sale from any vehicle or conveyance. Doesn't say anything about renting anything. Peddler's permit doesn't give you permission to rent. It gives you permission to sell, like a food truck. You sell a taco. I'm not going to give you a taco back unless it's bad. Next thing, private watercraft, Chapter 16, Article 2, Division 1, Subdivision 1, Section 16, 216F. Owners of private watercraft of all types shall not be permitted to rent their watercraft for use on the Shawnee Twin Lakes No. 1 and 2, or to collect fares, or to take donations for the use of the watercraft. In other words, right now, the way it's been done, go get a peddler's permit. Anybody that owns a private watercraft can just go rent it to anyone they want on our lakes right now. That means anybody that has a permit. Y'all can think of what that can of worms would be like, because that's just chaos. Now, the next thing, vacancies in Board of Commissions or the mayor, Part 1 of the Charter, Article 3, Section 7. If after their election as commissioners or mayor and prior or subsequent to the qualification for office as provided herein, any of said commissioners ceases to be a resident. Doesn't mean you own the property. It doesn't mean you still pay the bills on the property. It means you have to live in the house. Now, at the very bottom of that part, the Board of Commissioners shall be the exclusive judges of the existence of any vacancies. So that leaves it to 6 of y'all to decide this one. We don't get to decide it. Y'all are supposed to. I kind of want an answer on that one. Next, and something that kind of made me mad, regardless of who I have a problem with on this board, I talk to the board, or I mention the mayor specifically because he's the head of the board, or the head of the city, if you will. I would never call out any commissioner by name or anything like that. There's a whole lot of people that do support that commissioner in question and didn't think there was anything wrong that night. Personally, I would have fired them on the spot when they turned their back and walked away. That was unprofessional. So there's another opinion for a citizen in this town. You did fine.
Thank you, sir. Fran Topping, you're up. How are you, Fran?
I'm good. I'm out in public again. This is exciting. So I just want to say first how lucky we are to have Lauren Craig working for the city and for our shelterless community here. Her passion, her compassion, and her abilities are really inspiring. And it was so eye-opening to spend the time in the homeless county. I had no idea I was going to start crying on this. But this is a big need in our community that we have not addressed for a long time. And it was certainly eye-opening for me to really get a chance to talk to some of those people. And I think it's real easy and has historically happened in Shawnee that we talk about the homeless like it's a group of foreigners who have descended on us. And that is just not the case. These are human beings like you and like me. And, you know, a lot of them perhaps are there because of a series of bad choices, because of addiction, which we have to remember is a disease. Some of them are there just because of a series of bad luck. And, you know, certainly the last year, if it's taught us nothing, it's that things can change for us very quickly. The main thing I think that I heard in talking with people is how much they would love to be able to wash their clothes, how much they would love to be able to take a shower, right? These are basic things that we tend to talk about. Oh, they smell bad, they come in our business. I have a downtown business, and I will tell you, no one has ever come in it uninvited. And, but if we give people an opportunity for hygiene, they want that. We want that. I talked to one man who, He works when he can, even though he's had some very serious injuries. But he pays someone. He has to work off the record because he has no ID, which is a different issue I'll address in a moment. But he pays a friend $5 every other day to take a shower. That's $75 just to be clean. $5 every other day. So I hear a lot, well, why aren't they working? Why aren't they trying to better themselves? Well, another consistent issue, and I know Lauren is working to address this, is, you know, if you don't have an ID, you are stuck. And in Oklahoma, at least, you know, if you're rolled, you know, if somebody steals your stuff, which does happen, particularly if you have no secure place to store it, then it's pretty common to lose your ID. Do you know what you have to go through to get an ID replaced in Oklahoma? Have any of you, oh my gosh, it's almost the end of June, and if I don't go and renew my driver's license this next week, you know what I'm gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to drag up my birth certificate. Well, if you don't have your birth certificate, which is probably likely if you don't have your ID, then you're probably going to have to go to Oklahoma City and apply for that. And I am out of time, but I just want you to realize that we really have an asset, and I hope you will support this cause.
Thank you, Fran. All right, Michael Savage, come on up, sir. How are you this evening?
How y'all beautiful people doing today? First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to be here today. Some encouraging topics I heard, you know, but all I can say is y'all are only as few of many of Shawnee. So, you know, I know that the role that y'all play as individuals can only go so far until the community itself have to figure out, you know, how we have to come together and show y'all, you know, basically, if we wanted something, we should be able to gather together to show y'all what it is that the proposal. This is what these meetings is for the community come together, to come to y'all to show y'all that the community is coming together and we looking on one point and a point. So I hear a lot of things that's good, that will be, but I haven't heard any solutions from us. I know that y'all are in the power to help us and guide us in the right direction, but I think what it is that we as a community have to come together and fully understand as a community, because it's truly not fair for all of us to put our own burdens upon the backs of people that's truly standing in a position with the education and the credentials that some of us might not have, the opportunities some of us might not have at that moment. So I think the lot of frustration is the lack of understanding of what we can do as a community to get the true power behind us, where we can look like a unit instead of looking like, you know, that we're picking and choosing people. We can't just be picking and choosing people. There's a reason why you guys are sitting on this board, and there's a reason why these people have showed up. So I feel like as a community, we'll have to come together. But I'm just asking y'all to kind of forgive us from we dealing with COVID. You know, everybody has statistics. Statistics show that everybody that went through COVID last year really have developed some sort of mental, you know what I'm saying, how would I say, a mental illness. You know, depression is a form of mental illness. And like the lady said, the homeless people out there. Now, us as the community, we just dealing with that, you know, that psychological type. Now, yeah, the homeless, they have been out there a lot longer than we have. So, like I said, I can't sit up here and tell each one of y'all what I can do and how many other people that I can gather within the community. All I can say is, you know, to let y'all know these are some positive things that I feel like we should move in the right direction. And basically, I'm just glad to be able to reach out to y'all to have y'all counsel. That's all my words.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next we have, and I'm going to say this wrong, and if I do, I apologize. Is it Lita or Letta or Sparks? See, I told you I was going to say that wrong. I'm so sorry.
No apology. That's probably my fault. I was chasing cows before coming here, and I'm still shaky from,
Well, I hope you caught your cows.
I think the old man took care of that.
There you
after
go.
we-
Well, thank you for
Got it
coming to
taken
visit
care
with
of.
us tonight.
Thank you. I'm Rita Sparks. My husband is Kenny Sparks. And we've attended a couple of meetings to which we voiced some concern. And I don't, you probably remember Kenny. He's the poor old man that's had to live with the same woman for 52 years.
I think I remember that comment. Yes.
Oh, and we live, or don't live, but we have a lot out at the Shawnee Lake. And previously, we have voiced concerns regarding the lease next door, who is operating as an Airbnb and rents to vacationers, tourists, and they list under Airbnbs, and I think there's one other, I'm not sure. But let me first say that my husband and I love people. We welcome, anybody, love visiting. Don't have a problem with neighbors. In his employment, we have lived all over Oklahoma, in Arkansas, and have never had a problem getting along with people, and haven't had currently with our neighbors, but in their operations, of renting, it has presented us with some issues. And the large groups, and this last weekend we encountered an instance, and when you're dealing with people that you don't know, often when alcohol's involved, it's not simple dealing with those people and asking for resolution. And even though in the area that we have our place, the lots are small, we shared a drive, and even though our entrance is clearly marked to our property, when they have these large gatherings, and even though they're asked not to block our drive and to use our property as parking, it sometimes happens. And it seems simple that we should just go over and say, hey, do you mind moving your car? Which we have, and it's been taken care of. But last weekend it got very ugly. And we're really uncomfortable with the situation. We've tried to come to a solution with them. And I think it's finally come to a point. We've brought it to the commission's attention prior and asked for clarification on what's allowed out there and some resolution going forward. And that first started about a year ago. And the man that we're dealing with next door has become very arrogant in trying to resolve these matters. And just night before last, we had a conversation with him. We asked to bring the family together that are partners in this and have a face-to-face meeting for a resolution. And in his, pretty much told us the Airbnb is there and it's not going anywhere, and has even previously brought the city attorney into it, saying he's had his approval, And it's my understanding that he is not currently operating with a conditional permit.
Rita doesn't.
Okay.
But thank you very much, Rita. Next up is Chris O'Neill. You're going to pass. Okay, thanks, Chris. Andrew Johnson. You are up, sir.
Well, hello. I feel like so many people have spoken better on this already than me, but just in light of the homeless initiative being on the agenda tonight, I would like to wholeheartedly say that I think the only correct and good solution for homelessness is providing those without homes housing. Of course, that is hardly as simple as it sounds, and that is why I am so encouraged to hear about the homeless initiative. And I am eager to learn more about this effort towards coordinating services for the homeless. I'm not familiar with all the details of the initiative, but from my understanding, it is a big step in the right direction. And the city has not always done the right thing in this area, and so this new initiative is so encouraging. And I thank Lauren Craig and everyone in the city government and commission for making this happen. I think it's clear that the solution to homelessness is not criminalizing and ostracizing these members of our community. Our response to the, quote, homeless problem should not be to punish people without housing and find ways to no longer see them, but rather to help them obtain housing. That is the only moral and sensible long-term answer, and what I feel compelled to say to you all this evening. People without housing are our neighbors, and it is our obligation to help them as good neighbors. And I implore the City Commission to support compassionate policies of breaking down barriers between unhoused persons and housing. I look forward to learning more about this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we have come to the final speaker, so we will move on to item 2, which is consider approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything, gentlemen, that you wanted to pull off of the consent agenda? We would like to make a motion concerning the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
All righty, Daniel
Second.
and Dan. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. And let's see, item 3, we should be up to the presentation by the Animal Control, the pet of the week. I see something coming in a little box. I bet it's not the pig. How are you guys?
Doing well, how are you?
Doing great.
I'm Justin with Animal Welfare, and this is Brandy. Currently at the shelter, we have 18 dogs, 9 cats, and 1 pig. Since our last meeting, we've adopted out 4 cats, 5 dogs, and 14 of our animals have gone to rescues.
Wow.
This is Monday, our animal of the week. She's 8 weeks, was born at the shelter, and she loves to climb.
Yeah. Very cool. So what would it cost someone to adopt the little kitten?
So the adoption fee is $5. She's too young to be
Right.
spayed, so
Yeah.
that would be an additional $25 deposit for that.
Okay.
And you would need to prepay for a rabies vaccination because she's also not old enough for that yet.
Okay. Very neat. Well, good luck getting her a home.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. All righty, we are up to item 4, consideration possible action to cancel the regular scheduled July 6, 2021 City Commission, Shawnee Airport Authority, and Shawnee Municipal Authority meetings. So, Mr. Allison, you are up, sir.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, historically, we have canceled the first July meeting just due to all the work that goes into the end of the last fiscal year, the preparation of the budget, and generally the proximity that this particular meeting falls in regard to the July 4th federal holiday. At this time, staff doesn't foresee any significant urgent items that would need to be heard on this July 6th meeting. So our recommendation would be to cancel the meeting if you guys are amenable to that, and then we will double down on the second July meeting.
What do you think, gentlemen? It seems to be in line with, we've done this every year.
If something did come up, we could have a special meeting.
Right.
Yes, sir, certainly.
In 2 days. Yeah. Is that a motion?
That is.
All righty. Thought it might be. So we have a motion. Anyone like to second that? Am I allowed to second that?
Sure,
I will. I will second that. So we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. I've never got to second anything before. At least it's been a while. And let's see, that passes 6-4 and 1 against. All righty, thank you. Item 5, presentation by Lauren Craig, Homeless Service Coordinator regarding the homeless initiative. So, Ms. Craig, you are up.
Hello, commissioners. Hello, staff. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak again. We've had a pretty productive month of May and also a pretty productive month of June. We are ramping up outreach efforts, just kind of give you guys a heads up. This is pretty normal for most municipalities during the summer months just because of the heat, and just wrap up, former outreach efforts in the spring. Kind of want to check in with people and just make sure that everyone's okay. I want to bring you guys to our handout here. This handout will be made available in public tomorrow on our website. That website is www.homeshawneeok.org. Let's get into it. If I can remember how this thing works. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to take a second to thank all of the people who came together to make our count possible. That's going to be the bulk of my presentation tonight, is our point in time count, as we're kind of calling it. We had well over 20 volunteers come out in some form and capacity to volunteer. I've mentioned a few here. I want to recognize our awesome mayor who came out a few times to make sure that we had quality photos of the event. Our city planner, Rebecca Blame, came out. Commissioner Flood came out. It was a pretty hands-on experience, and I am very, very proud of our staff here. We even had a guy from Parks Department come out. He said that he has a lot of interactions with the homeless in his job, as one would expect, and he really wanted to see what it was like as somebody who does my job and have a different perspective on it, and it was kind of a unique experience. He and I went out together at 4 different sites, and it was very cool to spend some time with a city employee. I also want to give a good shout out to the Pioneer Library staff. They allowed us to encompass a big part of their lobby space to be able to intake some people and fill out forms. We also had a great number of donations for incentive items. These are your handouts that we gave as kind of like trust offerings to get people to participate in our survey. We had a great number of donations, but I want to hit on a couple of specific persons, especially Mrs. Peyton Silas. She is 7 years old. I think she just had a birthday, though. She collects homeless donations from all different groups, her church, her school, and they and their family put together 60 bags for us to give out. That was a huge chunk, seeing how we were together to make up 180 total. So thank you, Mrs. Peyton Silas. I am so very proud to know her. She did a great job putting all that together. I also want to give a good shout out to the St. Paul's youth group. They worked for about 3 hours total, putting together all of our bags before the count. It was super fun to work with them. It's really nice to see that there's people from all sides of the age spectrum getting involved in this community issue. So prior to May 4th through 7th, which is the dates that we did our count, we went to the schools, which we had mentioned in the prior city commission meeting where I presented, and we talked to the schools about the McKinney-Vento Act. I've included some information about what that act is specific to. So they are required by federal law to obtain information about housing and inadequate housing. Inadequate housing can look like staying in motels, RV parks, campgrounds, shelters, and transitional housing, sleeping in cars, parks, and abandoned buildings, or substandard housing in similar settings. So the Shawnee Public School System had reported 269 students that they've identified through enrollment in the 2020 to 2021 school year as some form of homeless. Pleasant Grove had identified 13 students. This is a great number of kids. We additionally went through nonprofits and discussed with nonprofits about our count and let them know. In the windows that we were holding our count, Salvation Army had housed 7 persons, Youth and Family Services had housed 8 minors, Project Safe 5 women. The sober living facilities in town had housed 27 persons, and through ESG grants, hotel, motel, emergency shelter, we had 4. So our total sheltered persons was 51 persons. That's a big number. I want to briefly discuss what it was like for us finding the camps and working through our planning stage. We worked with the Shawnee Police Department to kind of identify areas where they knew of persons, and then we worked with the Porch House and other kind of community service points to figure out where people might be sleeping at night. We had about 21 pinned locations ahead of our count that we had identified. Somebody might be sleeping there, somebody might be hanging out there during the day. So we had an idea that there would be 21 locations. We knew that there would be more. However, at the end of the count, we identified 59 pinned locations or sites, so more than double. And we found these sites all over, north of town, east of town, south town, by the river. We found these everywhere. So the idea that this is just a downtown issue is just simply not true. I mean, we found these in places butted up right against neighborhoods, sometimes uncomfortably close in some places. We only had 32 persons refuse the survey. And when we were doing this survey, we were just trying to capture people who were living unsheltered or living outside of temporary housing. We had worked with Salvation Army, Porch House, Mission Shawnee, just about any service point to capture this information. In addition to that, we walked pretty much every square mile of this city. I was pretty proud of some of our volunteers who did quite a big distance. And one afternoon we did about 8 miles straight, just walking down the railroad. That song only lasts for about an hour, by the way. We then were able to send in some of our data collection. I want to give a good shout out to Tracy Musin with the Avitas Foundation and Jeremy Davidson from Shawnee Forward. Jeremy built our database where we could quickly input data, keep it rolling. That way we weren't losing any time or momentum there. Tracy was doing data entry while we were out. So that way I could stay out with volunteers all day long, and it was a great relief. Getting to the completed surveys, we had 86 total. It's pretty high, seeing how in the last count there was 94 persons identified as homeless for our entire city. That is a 380% rise in homelessness over the course of 3 years. I want to quickly touch on the fact that this count went the span of 4 days, whereas a normal point in time count only lasts for about 24 hours. I believe that the work that we did this summer will allow us to have a better point in time count coming up in January, as we are required to do one yearly every year in January from now on. So total persons, when we add all of these together, is 451. So we can see just here in this little graph here, not only do we have people living in shelters, we have a great number living outside. We can somewhat attribute some of this rise to COVID, loss of income, and lack of affordable housing. But we also know that our count this time went into hidden areas that have been there for years. Some of these camps have been there for 10 years. Finding these was a huge moment for this initiative being able to identify these sites and being able to go out and do outreach is huge. I can tell you that a lot of these people who are in these hidden camps do not come into town for services, do not come and receive assistance. And when we arrived to some of these sites, we did have to kind of do some emergency measures to make sure people were okay. We did have to transport 2 persons to the hospital while we were doing this count. We did have to call in some other services like Red Rock and so forth. We connected with a veteran who was trying to get to the VA for over 3 months, but just did not know how to get out of the camp himself. So he had been stuck there for 3 straight months. I want to say just briefly that this outreach that we're doing in the city is not just an effort to keep people here, it's to keep people safe, it's to increase public safety, but also it's a form of humanity and making sure that these people have a touch with society and a touch that where they understand that somebody is looking out for them and somebody does care about them. And that is so huge when we're trying to establish trust and compassion with these persons to try and get them out of homelessness into housing. I've put together some additional information. Again, this will be released. Here's the website for anybody who's here today or watching online. This will be released tomorrow. So together we put together kind of like the demographic information. So our unsheltered youth that completed this survey, youth is defined by HUD as 0 to 24. We had 11 persons. Ages 25 to 34, we had 18. Ages 35 to 44 who completed the survey, 21. Ages 45 to 54, 17, ages 55 plus, 14, and didn't answer 34. We additionally have some like race and ethnicity questions. I won't get into that now, but we did have 7 homeless veterans. And I would like to urge us as a city to consider joining the national initiative to end veteran homelessness. That was something that the Built for Zero team asked us to tackle first, and I believe that we have all of the resources available to us to start that mission. So I think that that is a great starting point for our community. It is 7 persons who we know we can connect with resources through SSVF and the VA to get them housed and get them back on their feet. I think that would be an amazing move for our city. We also looked at how long somebody was homeless. We asked them very specifically, how many times have you been homeless, and how long have you been homeless this specific time? The majority of people did answer 1 to 4 years. We had a big chunk we had 55 persons who were identified as chronically homeless, and 17 persons said that they had become homeless within the last year. Those 17 persons are potentially eligible for COVID relief funds, and I do believe that we could get some momentum there started this summer. We also asked them, where did you sleep last night? And abandoned buildings was identified as 7 persons. Anywhere outside was 38. In a car or vehicle was 2. Hotel and motel was 2. And then we had about 16 or so that were living in friends' or relatives' houses. And then we had 7 that's in transitional housing, which could be like your sober living facilities, but that means that they're spending their days out. If they were at our service points where we did the survey, that means that there is not a place for them to go during the day. One of my favorite things to answer with people who are asking me about homelessness, especially in our community specifically, is, well, I've heard that so-and-so was bussed here. I heard that a group was bussed here. I heard that a municipality dropped off a bunch of people. So we asked the very specific question, where did you live prior to becoming homeless? And the vast majority answered that they had either lived in Shawnee or in another city in Oklahoma before becoming homeless. You can see here it says lived in Shawnee prior to homelessness, 30 persons. Lived in Oklahoma prior to homelessness, 31. Outside of Oklahoma was only 12. We had 13 folks who didn't answer, but I would feel like that's a good majority. Were probably nearby Shawnee before they became homeless and sought out this municipality as it is larger than probably where they came from, say Pink or Asher or Seminole. We also asked if somebody was trying to get to another city or state, as in, do you have family members that you could reconcile with, and potentially live with. A great number answered no, but we did have, I think, 13 that said that they would like to, I think maybe it was less than that, who said that they would like to leave the city and go and find family elsewhere. That is probably a really good option for us to pursue as we're trying to tackle a great number of homeless persons this summer. How that would work, we've done this 3 or 4 times with the Porch House before, is we try and connect with family off of social media. If we can establish contact and that person says, yes, I would like so-and-so who's experiencing homelessness in your community to come live with me, we get them a bus ticket, and we make sure that there is a service provider in that community that's ready to accept them and their family member. And we sit on the phone and we watch departure times and arrival times, and when they say that they're arriving, we call the family member and make sure that they were able to connect. If they were not able to connect, then we have to do the lovely job of whack-a-mole, and we connect with other cities and municipalities where they could have gotten off a bus and might be lost. So there is accountability. We are also not busing people out of this community, but if you have a parent or if you have a grandparent or a sister or a brother, that is a support system that I cannot build from scratch here. And that's a support system that we all rely on when we fall into hard times. We also collected some data for our nonprofits and service providers. Also, this is a good point of data for our outreach teams in the future. So we asked people if they had a problem with drug or alcohol abuse, if they had a developmental or learning disability. We collected some amazing data there. I was really surprised with how truthful and honest and forthcoming people were there to that question. I know that it's a sensitive one, especially. Moving on, though, this one that really, I think, I had the hardest time with is homeless households with children and persons who are separated from their children due to homelessness. We had 23 persons answer the questionnaire stating that they were a parent of a child under 18. 2 answered that they were currently pregnant, and 4 answered that they had a child under their care while experiencing homelessness. I think, above all else, that we should be considerate of the fact of what that means. I know as a parent, if I fell onto hard times, I would still expect to see my children, and I cannot imagine how damaging that is psychologically and emotionally for these parents. And children who are currently experiencing homelessness, even though they're with their family unit, have proven higher levels of emotional and behavioral problems in their schools, have an increased risk of serious health problems, are more likely to experience separations from their families, and are more likely to experience school mobility, repeat a grade, be expelled, or drop out of school. In the city of Shawnee, we have a truancy problem already. I cannot imagine what it's like to be homeless and try to get to school on time, or try to make that impossible travel across the city with a child that early in the morning. I want to push pause on this. I know we have been talking a lot about establishing our own continuum of care. I want to sit down with each of you and maybe schedule some meetings where we can talk about your exact concerns one-on-one about what that would look like. I've included some of the responsibilities that would be the city of Shawnee's responsibility if we entered into a continuum of care. That would mean that you would have to make sure there is somebody like me. I would love to do the job, but you would have to make sure that there was somebody to direct it, so that's just one expense. But there is also quite a bit of tasks, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we go trying to chase down HUD for hours and hours. I've also kind of put together a little letter. I plan on putting this in the paper this week, so I'm going to read that to you now. As your City of Shawnee Homeless Services Coordinator, I am dedicated to serving those in the community who are facing this most extreme form of poverty. Working with this group of people every day has been both a gift and utterly heartbreaking. Each soul living in homelessness has a story and has immense feelings. My job is to work with our homeless neighbors to discover that they have a way out of poverty. A large part of that work means establishing trust and communication, then affirmation and respect. Homelessness affects our entire community, from those who have loved ones living on the streets to business owners who struggle with the burden of excess trash and trespassing. As a downtown resident, a downtown business owner, I sympathize with those who are angry about this issue, but I urge the community to work with me and the City of Shawnee in developing this program. So please attend our town hall discussion or email me at info@homeshawneeok.org. However, I feel passionately that as a community, we can come together to create a compassionate solution for this complex issue. Our town hall discussion is here on Thursday night at 6 p.m. Anyone's allowed to speak. We're going to have a time limit, and it's going to have a little education piece. Our wonderful Vivian Lozano is going to be there, same with our captains of our Salvation Army, Patrick and Stacy Conley, and a representative from the Porch House. We're happy to answer very specific questions about operations and also discuss your ideas as far as how we can come up with specific solutions. I've also included a conclusion statement for you all. And yeah, I just want to quote Dan Strawn here. Homelessness is a complex issue, yet one that is solvable and preventable. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions? I know there's a lot to digest there.
Try to go fast.
And that's why, we wanted to do this session Thursday, because there is so much to digest. I want to thank you and all the volunteers and everybody that worked on that point in time count. You guys went into places that a lot of people wouldn't dare walk into, and we really appreciate that. This program that we've become a part of is extremely data-driven. I mean, you unless you really figure out what you're dealing with, you have no idea, how to fix it or make it better. So you guys have collected a lot of really good data, and we're going to keep doing that so we can see, are we making progress? And if you see, there's an overwhelming why, then you know what to work on. But until you know what the why is, I mean, you're just kind of playing whack-a-mole. And you know what? That doesn't get you anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have a question. That was a statement. I did want to thank you for all the hard work and everything that you and all the volunteers did. Because let me tell you, you guys went into places that I wouldn't be comfortable going into. I'm a lot bigger than you are.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had fun. Any questions?
If I got anything else, questions? I know.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for your tenacity. I think I still owe you a response to your text message the other day. I'm just blown away and really moved right now by 282 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what's scary about that 282 is that doesn't include a parent or maybe two parents. You could have a sibling that's younger, not school age, or one that's older. So, I mean, more than likely that number's a little low, so.
Well, I mean, I was in it seems like I reference this all the time, but it really drives me. I was in a meeting and Gene Rainbolt, who has really strong connections to Shawnee, spoke, and he said, what if we just, everything we did was aimed at making sure every kid had the opportunity to live up to their full potential. And, I celebrate, all of us that are dads in the room celebrated Father's Day yesterday. There's 282 kids that we've got to make sure have a chance to live up to their potential.
Yeah. And that's just
not really a question, sorry.
That's just the schools that reported data. We also have missing information from Grove, from North Rock and South Rock Creek, and then Liberty, some of the private charters too. So that's just the ones that we know of.
And also from working in the neighborhoods and working with individuals, I know there are a significant number of parents who do everything but bribe individuals to allow them to put their name on a piece of paper so they can use that residence as a place to get their children into school. And so that I would say that number is significantly low of individuals who truly do not have a home. They're either living in a garage or in somebody's storage shed. I helped a family this last week get into a house they were actually living in a storage shed, mom and two kids and soon to be husband, and it was unbelievable. Whenever I gave her the lease, that first thing she did was ran to the school and showed it to the administration so that she could get her kids enrolled, and that's all she was missing was just someplace to say that's where I live.
Yeah.
And so it's a
We are
pretty
working to develop a specific form after they fill out the McKinney-Vento Act form that would trigger the second form, which would be like a release of information, very specific that it's only for help, not for punishment. There is no crime to be homeless. We want to make sure that these families know that there is help out there, and there are compassionate people who really believe that, you know, just a little bit of help, you can get your kids in a better situation. And that's, I think, like what you said, Commissioner Matthews, that all we really care about is just making sure that these kids actually have a chance. I mean, an absolute chance and the best shot possible to have a true life. I included some information, but I'd be happy to give you more statistics on after 1 year what it's like for a child and the potential things that happen to them afterwards. It's been proven that children who have just experienced 1 year of homelessness are only 13% likely to graduate high school. So, and that's just 1 year. I can't imagine these kids have been homeless their entire lives, and this is all they know, and that does happen. So,
One other thing I want to point out, because I think it's really important, is that by gathering all this information, and we are doing it on a by name basis, so we know who these people are, we know where they're staying, we know all this information about them. So soon you're going to be having sit downs with all the different organizations in town that provide services, and you're going to be able to discuss individuals by name and then match them up with organizations that can help them out with specific needs. Mm-hmm. And then we're working towards solving that problem instead of working blindly. And it's not that all these organizations haven't been trying, but they haven't been able to sit down in the same room and have a meeting where they can discuss the specific needs of each one of these people and, you know, do what they can do, you know, to help them get out of this situation, mm-hmm. to get them off the street, mm-hmm. so that, I mean, everybody that has complaints, those are valid complaints, but this is a way, an organized way, a data-driven way to work on this problem rather than just stumbling around in the dark like we have been. So, I mean, I have high hopes that we can
Yep.
be successful with this. We will
Yep.
never get that number to zero, that we know.
yeah.
But we can make it a whole lot better than almost 500 people.
Opening on June 30th, I believe that there is going to be a round of ESG coronavirus funds that are going to come available. I urge the city to take a look at that. I think that that would help our problem immensely. In addition, that meeting that you reference is going to be on July 6th, and because it is sensitive information, it's only invited to
Right.
those who have a completed ROI
not a
program
public
with our agency, but we do like to report outcomes. So once we have those reported outcomes, I'd be happy to send those out. And we do put information out on that website often, so please check
Absolutely.
it. Awesome. Okay, I unfortunately have to stand in front of you a little bit longer because I'm next for 2 more items.
Are you really?
I am.
I guess I should have read ahead. Anybody get anything else on this item while we've got her? Other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you for all your hard work. I got to find where we are again. All right, so item 6, consideration and possible action to approve citizen participation plan, CPP, for the City of Shawnee and Community Development Office regarding the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Disease Relief Program. Boy, that is a mouthful. CDBG-CV. And Lauren,
10
you're
times
up
fast.
again. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so we had our citizens participation plan where we kind of went over just the broad gist of what happened. We only had 2 attendees, but this is pretty bare bones. So yeah, the citizen participation plan is something that we have to have passed to be able to apply for this funding. And let me just say this, it's free money to the city. There's no paying it back. It's a grant. It's coronavirus relief funds. So yeah, that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Can you tell us what some of the things that we will be able to do with this grant?
Yes, so we have a very strict application process to go through. The document that they sent us, I'm not kidding you, is 279 pages long of policies and procedures. I think I lost about 20 brain cells just trying to read it. We developed this plan. It gave us what we could apply for specifically in this grant application. We opted for mortgage and rental assistance, which is the prevention part of my job, which is why I'm here presenting this. So prevention to homelessness is keeping you in your home and making sure that you have a way to stay in it. We have a great number of persons who are behind on rent due to coronavirus. So anybody who is impacted by loss of income due to coronavirus, or maybe mom had to stay home with the kids, so she quit her job, that counts. So we're doing the mortgage and rental assistance. We're doing nutrition assistance referrals. So through Community Market, we're able to say, your family was impacted. Here's this referral, free, go pick up your food. And then we're able to provide Community Market with some necessary funding to have that increase in persons. Additionally to that, we're doing low-income mental health telehealth expansion. Our two partner organizations is Gateway to Prevention and Youth and Family Services. Those two have offered us access to their mental health providers via telehealth visits to our low-income persons. We decided to make it a lot easier on ourselves. That way we didn't have to verify income to every specific person wanting to seek out those telehealth visits based on the requirements of this grant. So we went straight to the Housing Authority, which is low-income verified housing, already on the same model that this grant is through, and we said, hey, how would you like to offer this service to your tenants? And they said, we would love that. So we're planning on doing this wireless expansion. Believe it or not, the tower and the high rise, I can't remember off the top of my head how many units that is, but it's a couple hundred. Yeah, it's a bunch. They do not have internet access. Maybe one single unit here or one single unit there has internet access if they could afford to make that plunge. But it's really hard to do telehealth visits with a mental health provider if you don't have internet access. So this grant would also expand their infrastructure there and allow them to be able to do that. So this is really huge for this community who's probably never had an opportunity to sit with a mental health provider.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you say internet access, it's not like we're just giving them internet access.
Correct.
The only thing that can be used are these telehealth visits.
Correct. Yeah, that's part of the request for proposal when we
Yes.
send that out. There's a timeline for that in that grant proposal too. But yeah, it has to be locked down to that specific use. And the providers, the Gateway to Prevention and Youth and Family Services, are working together to see what software that they would like to use equally. Because right now they're using two different ones, and we're trying to all make our lives simpler. So, yeah. Any more questions?
Did you think you had a question, did you?
No, I was just going to reiterate that the not only is the internet, but the devices are also
Yes.
Specifically intended and
That's the only use.
restricted to this type of activity only. And
Yes.
so that was,
Yeah, this is also a great way to go forward to housing and urban development as a prevention method for homelessness too. Sometimes these people do enter into homelessness not because they don't have housing, but because they, for whatever reason, decided to leave it due to mental health. So we're checking a lot of boxes today.
And the cost of that is what to us?
None. It's based on,
That's the way the
yeah,
answer
it's
I was
free
looking
money.
for.
So it's a grant. It is reimbursement based, but yeah, it is a grant. It's free money. We get to walk away from it, so it's great.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity. I want to thank Sarah Dame wholeheartedly for all of her work on it. She's been working around the clock to go through that 200 and some odd page document. Yeah.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Just one comment. My board of directors, if anybody doesn't know me, I'm the executive director of Community Market. My board of directors is having discussions with Lauren and her team about participating in this. And so while I support this, I'm going to abstain on it,
Okay.
just so that the board is free to have any discussions they want to have.
Okay, appreciate that. Anybody got any questions? If not, have we got a motion to participate in this?
I'd like to make a motion, move forward with this.
Travis, motion. Second from anybody?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Darren with the second. So we have a motion and a second, and we will call the question. All righty, motion passes 6 ayes and 1 abstention. We move on to item 7, consideration of a resolution regarding the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Response, CDBG-CV 2020, CDBG-CV, say that 3 times fast, program. So Lauren, you're up again.
That's the same thing. This, we had to have a separate resolution saying that we passed the citizens participation plan, but yes, this is the very same thing. So now you're voting to basically say, do you support this application for free funds or not?
Okay. Questions or entertain a motion?
I will make the motion again.
All righty, thank you, sir. Motion from Travis.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Marquez the second. All righty, we will call the question.
Mayor, I'll read that
Oh, I'm
resolution
sorry.
title into
I'm
the record.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Resolution regarding the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Response, CDBG-CV program.
Thank you, sir. Now we will call the question. And motion passes 6 ayes and 1 abstention. All righty.
Thank you.
So we will move on. Thank you so much. All righty. Item 8, discussion, consideration, possible action of an appeal of an administrative order regarding demolition of a residential structure located at 2005 North Broadway Avenue. And Mr. Vondran is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We continue to work with the property owner and his counsel with regard to the repair of this particular property. As you will recall, the last time we appeared, there was a plan put in place to make significant progress and defer this to today's meeting.
Right.
There has been significant progress, however, not quite as much as was anticipated due to some delays in production related to COVID, particularly with windows. However, the other items have progressed. And at this point, staff is recommending we defer this to a future meeting, with the only condition being that they continue to make progress on the rehabilitation of the property.
Okay. Any questions or? This one I'm pretty familiar with. It's about 2 blocks from the house, so kind of watch this progress.
I move to accept staff's recommendation with the conditions.
All righty, thank you, sir.
I'll second.
All righty, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to take staff's recommendation to continue a future meeting. We will call the question. And it passes 7-0. All right, we have a public. Item 9 is public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 33,001 Lake Road from A1 Rural Agricultural District to A1 Rural Agricultural District with a CUP, conditional use permit, for the purpose of a wedding venue with the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverage on the premises. Case number CUP 01-21. Applicant Greta Madsen, Enterprises LLC. Public hearing rescheduled from June 21, 2021 to July 19, 2021. So, Mr. Allison, I believe you're up.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this public hearing has been rescheduled as well as items 9, 10, and 11.
9, 10, and 11.
Have each been rescheduled to the July 19th, 2021 meeting, so no action will need to be taken this evening.
Okay, very good. So we can skip over to item 12 then, if I'm hearing you right?
Yes, you're correct.
All right, thank you, sir. That's fast. I don't think we've ever gone through that fast before. All right, item 12, consideration of approval of fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And Ashley is up. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great.
All right, so this is the FY 21-22 budget, and there have been no substantial changes from the public budget hearing we held a week ago,
Right.
but I am more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody got any questions? You must must have really explained it good. You did do a really good job, and I appreciate that. You did a very good job.
I was reminded of Commissioner Salter's words during the appointment to the Ward 1 open seat. Are you willing to read, when I was reading the 361-page
I know.
attachment?
I know, there is a lot of reading in that.
Mr. Mayor, I skipped your bio in the budget. But
There you go.
the rest of it I read.
I might mention that Ashley's documentation and all online is wonderful. If you haven't seen it, you need to go and see where everything is going, and it was wonderfully put together.
I mentioned it in the public hearing, and again, Ashley, thank you for all your hard work, and I think it was very wise to use the 1920 numbers as our basis as last year with COVID and all of that. So a couple of notes I made. Overall police increase from 7.5 million to 8.5 million, including 600,000 more for police patrol. I think our citizens should feel good about. There's an increase in there in code enforcement, which I thought was good. The lease program that allows us to update equipment more rapidly. Capital Improvement Fund, 2.1 million for the expo. A lot of things in there that I think we should be really excited about. So
absolutely.
Thanks to you and your team for all your hard work.
Well, anybody got a motion?
I move to accept the budget as presented.
All righty, thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel, well, I think Daniel beat you there. He's a little quicker on the draw. All righty, so we have a motion and a second for the budget. So we will call the question. And that passes 7-0. Good job, Ashley. All righty, we are up to item 813. Consideration of resolution adopting the budget, for the city of Shawnee for the period of July 1, 2021 through July 30, 2022, finding all the things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of budget. So are you back up or? Okay, I just want to make sure I was.
Apologize, I was double checking something. No, so this is basically just the resolution approving the appropriations. But if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to do so.
Kiddo. Any questions or?
I'll make a motion we approve.
All right, thank you, sir.
And I'll second.
Daniel and Travis have motions. I'll let you read. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution approving and adopting the budget for the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, finding all things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of said budget.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. And motion passes 7-0. So I guess officially we have a budget now.
Sir.
Cool. All righty, item 14, acknowledge, man, Ashley, you're up again. Acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports, and I know you're gonna have good news.
All right, so I have good news. Sales tax came in well. We collected 2.3 million in sales tax as of June for the June 2021. That puts us 36.29% above budget for the month and 13.37% above for the year. So we ended on a really strong note. Use tax also came in higher. We had about $280,000 in use tax for this month, which is 27.91% above budget. And we will end the year at 3.37% above budget. So all good news. In regard to like budget to actuals, we're looking good. Our revenues are supporting our expenditures. It looks like we'll finish the year strong. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
That's a good way to finish. Got any questions? No questions. I mean, it's hard to question good results like that. That's awesome. Thank you so much. All righty. Item 15, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
No new business. Item 16, we'll go to commissioners' comments. How about we start down your end, Benny?
Well, I've already made my comments about Ashley and everything that she has done there. And in regards to Lauren, I just cannot fathom what she has gone through to put together this report. And it will, I believe, help all of us and to get going in the right direction.
I'll kind of reiterate what Benny said. You know, Ashley's done a really good job in presenting the budget and putting everything online, make it easy for anybody to look at. Yeah, my daughter teaches school in the Shawnee School District, and she has talked before about the amount of grandparents keeping kids, raising kids, and family members raising kids. You just don't realize how many kids don't have the chance that, you know, my kids had. So it's neat to see Lauren kind of go out and do what she's done, and hopefully as a group we can kind of focus and maybe help with this, because you know, the kids do deserve a chance, and they ought to have every opportunity to get that. So that's about all I've got.
Thank you, sir.
That's covered that very well. Ashley, thank you. Lauren, I was going to thank her. That was that takes a lot to get that done, and it's a good start to what we're doing. We did have some fun downtown this weekend.
Yes, we did.
Blues on Broadway and fundraiser for cops and kids. Had 80 teams, I think, enrolled in the tournament. I believe I saw you down there. So there was a lot of bags going across the street all afternoon Saturday. It was good. Nice to see the participation and a lot going on downtown.
Mr. Flood?
I was very thankful to hear Ms. Ramsey's comments about the ramp and some of the issues and struggles that somebody who's currently a chair user who is trying to maneuver the ADA launch, and I really do hope that some of those questions and concerns can be very intentionally thought through as we begin to move forward to help make that a safe place for everybody and something that everybody can enjoy, and I was thankful for that. Also, Rob, I appreciate you coming and speaking to us. And thank you for coming up here and giving your opinion on those things as well. I got to go on a few of the outings and see firsthand the camps. I worked firsthand with a lot of individuals who want to make a better life for themselves, and a lot of them stand in whatever they would consider their home, whether it be a camp or a garage or a shed or a car or one of our shelters, and they don't see hope for a better future. I believe that this can be the hope for a better future for a whole bunch of folks. I believe that these efforts can make Shawnee a better place, and I believe that a lot of families with just a little bit of direction and support can overcome homelessness and get the support and help that they need. It's there. There's just a breakdown between the individuals that need it and the services that are being provided. And I want to thank Lauren again for working so hard, and it's not easy. Mr. Savage, thank you again for coming and speaking to us. I agree. Our community should be able to come together, and we should be intentional about telling each other what we need and what we want, and bringing positive things to each other to say, hey, have we thought about this? Could we do this? Are there a better way? And instead of always focusing on the negative things. And thank you for reminding me of that. Sometimes it's really easy to focus on the negative. And sir, I promise you that your education and credentials you're more than qualified to speak to us on anything that you have in your heart. And don't let that ever stop you from sharing with anybody what you believe to be right. And so thank you for that. The Sparks family in the Lakes, I would like to somehow see how we can be intentional as a commission about helping individuals who are not understanding or having breakdowns between different neighbors, and how can we help them to come back together, and those places operate, one with a family that's trying to live out their best life, but also a property owner who wants to be able to use their property for things that they are legally within the law able to do. CARES Act, I'm really excited about that. I've sat through several meetings about that community development block grant and cannot wait to see that those dollars and how those can help. And just the last thing, I'm just blown away by the stat that 1 year of homelessness, children who experience 1 year of homelessness, only 13% of those individuals are likely to graduate high school. That just is an unbelievable stat, which means that will continue to more than likely become a generational thing. So, gosh, we can't let that be. We can't. Thank you. I appreciate the staff and all their hard work. I appreciate all the individuals in the room that take the time to come and speak to us. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for working so hard, even though you've had a pretty tough week. That was hard to see and go through. And also just, I want to say thank you to the individuals that put on the events this weekend. It was so much fun to be downtown and to play cornhole and to see people enjoying themselves, and the businesses that were getting things. And then also the music was phenomenal. My goodness, it was so good. And then being able to go that evening to the celebration of Juneteenth and be a part of that was so good to see that, and made me so proud for the work that so many individuals that came before us have continued to put in to make Shawnee be one of the best cities in this part of the world. So thank you.
Commissioner Weaver.
Well, I have a lot to say, but I don't think I'm ready to say it. So you guys just bear with me. The time will come and the right responses will be there, but tonight's not the night.
Great. Thank you, sir. Mr. Matthews.
I ran into Mr. Sparks after our last meeting, and he said the only way he'd be in trouble was if the lady that he'd been married to for 52 years heard about anything he said. I think she may have heard. But appreciate them coming out, and I echo with Travis, we want to be an active player in seeking resolution. I'm so thankful to Ashley and the staff and the budget. Echo Commissioner Salter, the OpenGov features made this process for commissioners so easy to review, and was a good thing. And I'm so thankful for, as we can celebrate and that we've come through this year financially well as a city. And I'm thankful for the resilience of even Shawnee business owners that have done the same thing, and heard about some of that at the Shawnee Forward annual meeting last week that we were invited to, and learning even more about the works of United Dynamics and things like that were fascinating, and really made me proud of our community. And I thought I was prepared for what Lauren would have to say tonight, and I mean, I'm a big supporter that we need robust and thorough wraparound services. We need to work on developing the continuum of care, because until this is intensely personal, we're going to let it continue to be, well, let's just deal with somebody needs to deal with the homeless. The someone is me, the someone is you. There are friends, there are neighbors, until it becomes, how can I help John? Not somebody needs to do something about the homeless. We're going to continue to be right back where we've been for the last 20 years. And the 282 kids that Lauren talked about tonight can't afford for us to wait. So we have plenty of concerns, plenty of challenges, but we also have plenty of momentum that we need to get around the table. We need to say no more people are going to fall through the cracks because we thought it was somebody else's problem. I'll be right there with you. We can do it, but we've got to do it together. And that's me as a person, that's me as a commissioner, that's city staff as people, city staff in their role at their jobs. We've got to do it. We just have to. So I also want to say what a wonderful time Saturday night I had at the Juneteenth celebration. What a neat opportunity. Thank you to Timmy Young, the Dunbar Heights Historic Neighborhood Association, Pastor Darrell Fields, Jamel Payne. It was a wonderful event. I think it was meaningful to everyone that was there to come together as a community and get to celebrate together a very momentous occasion. I'm thankful for the mayor and his leadership in the resolution that we passed. Judge Kenneth Watson gave an inspirational message, and then I thought it was good, and then they let Miss Frazier get up and sing. Man, oh man. Just a wonderful night. Made me so proud of so many in our community and proud of our community and the work that so many have done so diligently. May this really be a starting point for the next chapter of making some things right in Shawnee and going forward. And so we all have much work to do. May we be faithful to do it.
Thank you, sir. I'll try to be quick. You guys have said so many good things tonight. Unfortunately, Ashley's not back, but I wanted to brag on her and what a good job she and her staff have done, and Chance, and you guys have done on this budget. And the Open Gov, I think, is just an amazing thing, and that not only allows us to see it, I mean, the whole world can see it, and we want the whole world to see it. So I really appreciate that's up and running. Lauren, again, thank you so much for everything that you've done and all your volunteers have done. I am so glad that we have an organized effort. We're going to get better results that way. It isn't going to happen overnight. That's guaranteed. I can tell you, as someone that got to sit in on the quality by name list meetings with the other, I think it was 8 communities that were chosen to participate in this nationwide. Shawnee was the envy of everybody else because we have a dedicated person working on this program. Everybody else, it's just, a part of somebody else's job. And let me tell you, they are very envious of Shawnee and how quickly we have progressed through this and set this up. I mean, it was apparent that is such a good decision, and it has really paid off. So we are off to a good start. That communities from one coast to the other are very envious of the way that we are undertaking this. I want to thank all the citizens that came out and spoke tonight. Again, I had 2 pages tonight. I really like that. I love it when you guys come talk to us. It really does help us. We do listen to you, I promise. We value your input. Hopefully we'll get the 3 pages, but I really am glad to see that. Also, the events, I did not get to spend much time at them, because of the situation I've had in the last couple of weeks. So I have to be real careful about being out in the heat. But let me tell you, I have never seen so many people playing cornhole. Man, what a sight that was. It was like, was it 80 teams or so? And I heard there were professional players there. I heard there were some real ringers, is what I heard. So it looked like everybody's having a lot of fun, raising some money for a really good cause, the Cops and Kids event. So that looked like a really, really nice event. And then I was lucky enough to get to go down and say a couple words at the Juneteenth celebration, and that was just amazing. I really, really enjoyed that. I mean, looking at that event, and not everybody looked like me, and I just love that. And that's the way all our events ought to be, you know. I'm real used to that at home because we have a very racially diverse family, but it was really good and meant a lot to see that there. And like I said that night, you know, Shawnee knows how to do things right. We really do. And we're not just going to do this right. We're going to be the example of how to do this right. So that was a lot of fun. So we're going to have a lot more fun this summer, I promise you. All righty, so I will be quiet. We'll move on to the Airport Authority. So item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. So Daniel and Darren. A motion and a second, so we will call the question. And there we go. Motion passes 7-0. All right, item 2, consideration approval of Shawnee Airport Authority budget for fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and Ashley is up again.
Yes, so this is just the SAA portion of the 2021-2022 budget. There have been no substantial changes from our meeting where I was presenting last Monday, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Yeah, I'll second.
So, Daniel and Travis. All right, so we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. And that passes 7-0. All righty. Item 3, consideration of resolution adopting the budget for the Shawnee Airport Authority for the period of July 1, 2021 through July 30, 2022, finding all things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of the budget. So Ashley is up again.
Yes, and I didn't leave
Same
this time.
drill. That's okay.
So this is just the resolution approving the appropriation for the Airport Authority.
All right, very good. So Joe is up. If anybody has any
Motion,
questions?
second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we approve
There's
the
a
resolution.
motion.
I'll second.
And Darren. Now you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution approving and adopting the budget for the Shawnee Airport Authority, Oklahoma for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, finding all things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of said budget.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll call the question. And it passes 7-0. So the airport has a budget now. That's cool. All righty, new business.
Mr. Mayor, no new business.
Thank you, sir. We are adjourned. We will move on to the Municipal Authority. All righty, item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda. Questions or?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Darren and Mark. All righty. So we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. And that passes 7-0. Bet Ashley's up again. Item 2, consideration of approval of Shawnee Municipal Authority budget for fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
All
There she
right.
is.
So yes, here I am. This is the SMA portion of the budget. Again, like with the other sections, there were no substantial changes from the presentation made last Monday, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
I get any questions? Anybody get a motion?
Move to approve budget.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Aaron and Daniel. All righty, we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. Item passes 7-0. Item 3, consideration of approval of a resolution adopting the budget for the Shawnee Municipal Authority for the period of July 1, 2021 through July 30, 2022, finding all things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of the budget. So, same drill, I bet.
Yes, it is. It is the resolution approving the appropriation for the Shawnee Municipal Authority.
Ready?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Travis,
I'll second it.
second by Daniel. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution approving and adopting the budget for Shawnee Municipal Authority, Oklahoma for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, finding all things requisite and necessary have been done in preparation and presentation of said budget.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. Item passes 7-0. New business.
Mr. Mayor, no new business.
Thank you, sir. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We appreciate you being here and participating.